This is the Racino bill. You've heard it before, at least in the context of what it does. This now will direct, as at least presented, $120 to $30 million into the paying off of the school shift. Just to go through it rather quickly, Racino, I'm not sure I need to define it, but it is about placing video gaming machines at Canterbury Park and running aces. Approximately 2,000 are noted in the bill. The whole essence of this bill, and the reason I sit here today, is the whole subject of the horse industry. If we do not do something dramatically in the way of Racino, and that seems to be the way that it has been done, certainly in other states, we're going to lose our horse industry in Minnesota.
Senators, our greatest concern to our association is the loss of jobs in rural areas in the state. This fiscal note fails to address the impact on state revenue of major layoffs at tribal casinos affected by Racino approval. Tribal gaming is the 6th largest employer in the state of Minnesota. State payroll tax revenues will drop by as much as 25%, and at least 5,000 tribal jobs will be lost. That's 25% of the direct jobs supported by tribal gaming and governments. These jobs have health care benefits.
Sometimes I think this gets a little too complicated, and what it really is just putting 2,000 electronic gaming devices in each one of these two places, which are already regulated by the state of Minnesota, which already have a special relationship with the state of Minnesota. And I would agree with everything Senator Senjem said in the way of this is not really an expansion of gaming at all. I mean, that genie's out of the bottle.
I'm here today to urge you not to expand gambling in Minnesota because it won't stop at 2 Racinos. Gambling is a lousy and unreliable source of income, and it won't end when we allow slot machines, 4,000 slot machines at the 2 existing racetracks. We learn a lot of lessons looking at other states, and I want to share with you just very briefly today some of those lessons. We cited Indiana today, for example, as an example of a successful Racino, one of which is already bankrupt. New York State just 4 days ago took 10 years ago authorized Racinos. 4 days ago decided to have full state-run slot machines and casinos. Local Racinos aren't destinations for gamblers. They're convenience for existing gamblers who already exist, creating only one thing: more problems in the local community.
A question came up earlier about the cost to charitable gambling. In the fiscal note, there is no remedy in this proposal for the Lawful Gambling Board's projection of a 25% drop in tax revenue from charitable gambling. This proposal fails to account for any associated possible constitutional challenges of the Racino legislation. I know the horse industry is very well represented here today, and while we understand their position, we cannot agree with it. Less than 2% of the 90,000 horses in the state of Minnesota ever put their hooves on a racetrack. Subsidizing this industry would be temporary, as what we've been seeing in some of the same areas that Mr. Hilger testified to, is these same tracks that once they were given the opportunity to have slot machines have now petitioned to do away with live racing. That's happened in the dog track industry, and it's happening in the racetrack industry. The most significant change in Minnesota gambling policy in a generation needs to be based on thorough and detailed due diligence, not pie-in-the-sky promises.
I'm opposed to the expansion of gambling for a number of reasons. I think many people think this is an innocuous, relatively painless way to raise taxes, putting casinos and video slots at horse tracks. But I believe it's a bad idea for a number of reasons. First, this bill means the state will be profiting off the expansion of predatory gambling at the expense of the people of Minnesota. Predatory gambling or video slots are the most addictive form of gambling. It's known as the crack cocaine of gambling. It's estimated that 1% of slot gamblers account for 50% of slot proceeds. This casino bill takes advantage of these people who can least afford to gamble, people with gambling problems. This is a poor way to raise tax revenues.